Welcome. I'm Tony Stolzfus. I'm the author of the book Questions for Jesus, and I want to welcome you to the Questions for Jesus course. What we're going to do in this course is just learn how to hear the intimate voice of Jesus speaking to your deepest desires. And it's amazing the change in your devotional life, in your relationship with Jesus that can happen when you learn just how to have these heart-level conversations. I know for me, I often say my percentage of answered prayer went up about 1,000% when I figured out how to pray this way. Took me, 25 or 30 years to figure it out. But once I realized how this works, it's so simple that we can easily communicate it and master it in a short course like this. So we're going to spend a lot of time in this course doing very simple exercises where we'll give you an intimate question to ask Jesus, and we'll take 30 seconds or a minute just to listen for what he has to say, and then we'll jot it down or share it with each other. And whatever comes into your heart or whatever you hear in that, we'll share and we'll test with each other and get feedback. Does that sound like Jesus? And what you'll find is Jesus said it himself, "My sheep hear my voice. My sheep hear my voice." And he's talking to you. You're his, and you already hear his voice. You hear it daily. You just don't recognize a lot of times that he's speaking to you. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on mastering recognizing his voice that's already speaking to us. So it's an exciting journey. It's fun. The beauty of this method of praying is it's not based on discipline. You don't have to grind out a half an hour a day, of intense focus or change. We're going to ask you to spend maybe 5 minutes a day working on this. It's not that hard because Jesus is already speaking to you. We just have to learn to recognize it. So what we're going to start with today in this first session is doing some work with affirmation. If we're going to let Jesus speak to our hearts, we need to have our hearts open. And affirmation is a great way to open our hearts. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn about some ways to make your affirmation more powerful. We're going to affirm each other, and then we're going to listen for Jesus to affirm us, which will be the fun part. Well, the first part will be a lot of fun too. So think about for a moment when you get affirmation in life, like at your work, at a role you're in church, someplace in your life, what's the most common kind of phrase that you hear? Think for a minute about that. And my guess would be that for most people, those common phrases sound something like, "Good job," or "Thanks for doing that." And those kinds of affirmations are good, but they tend to not touch us that deeply. And there's two key reasons for that. One is when you affirm what a person did, it's something that's in the past. It's outside of them. So you're not actually affirming them. You're affirming this thing that they did back whenever that's already not me. It's an action I did, but it's not. You're not talking to the inner me. You're talking to something I did. So that creates distance between our heart and the affirmation. So that's one thing we can work at with our affirmation is to say, how can I move it from something outside of you to something inside of you? The second reason why "good job" doesn't touch us that deeply is because it's really vague. It doesn't display that the person really knows you or paid attention or was watching enough to really see. So if you do affirm what someone did, it's very important to have specifics. And in fact, in all three of the kinds of affirmation I'm going to teach you, the amount of detail and communicating to the person that they're known makes an enormous difference in the impact. So what I want to do is give you an example of this. And again, three kinds of affirmation. The first is affirming what you did in the past. The second is believing in your potential and your capacity for the future. And the third one is naming who you are in the present. So it's interesting, these three kinds of affirmations are about the past, the future, the present, the sort of three realms. And the one that's most powerful is naming who you are in the present, because that speaks directly to your heart, to who I am and what I'm about and what's most precious to me. So we recently had an employee leave the firm, and one of the things we do we were sorry to lose her, but she went on to work with her husband and is having a great time, and God is really favoring them, and it was cool to hear their testimonies. But one of the things we do is we go around and bless people and speak life to them and name what we see in them. So I want to give you 3 examples of affirmation, since that's fresh in my mind, that I might have given to her, and then we'll sort of pull them apart a little bit. So first one would be to affirm what you've done in the past. So I might say, what I loved about having you on the team was just you were always moving fast. You're always hustling. And I would see you walking down the hall, and but you didn't walk, you ran down the hall. You strode down the hall with purpose. And so I loved the way that you worked. You were always hustling and moving quickly and purposeful. So I enjoyed seeing you do that. That for me as a boss makes me feel like I don't have to manage you, because I keep seeing you hustle. So there's an example of affirming what you did. You were purposeful, you hustled, you moved fast. But it's specific and it's connected also because I talked about how it affected me. And that makes a connection between our hearts. So even when you affirm what someone does, you can sort of supercharge it by connecting it with how it impacted you. So here's the second one, is believing in your future and your capacity. So I might say, you and your husband have a great future because the kind of spark and life that you brought to us, you're going to bring to your business, because that's the way you do everything, is you're excited about it and you're purposeful and you attack things. You don't just take it passively. So when you bring that to your husband's business, I think you're really going to flourish, and your sales have already improved, because I think there's something you bring to a business that blesses it. So I'll be excited to see what happens over the next year as you really integrate into what you guys are doing together. So that's an example of, I'm believing in your future. You have a great future because of what I see in you, because of what you do, because of what you bring to things. So when I express belief in you, I'm connecting our hearts. And you'll notice as I go through these 3 things that they have deeper impact, but they also get a little more challenging to do because they pull more out of you to affirm. Really affirming someone deeply is actually vulnerable, because you have to make a heart connection with them. And when you sense yourself reaching out to make a heart connection, you may also sense that I could be rejected or hurt. So that's one of the neat things about, you can sort of check how well you're affirming by, am I taking a risk? Is this costing me something? That's a beautiful way to sort of check up, because if you're taking a risk to bless the other person, then it's going to be powerful. So the third way of affirmation is affirming who you are in the present. So I might say something like this. The thing that I've seen in you is you just have such a passion to be responsible and to see your work count. I don't have any doubt that you would work hard, because there's this thing in you that strives for excellence and strives for the best, and you want to do well for the people that you work with and the people that you work for. And you don't need to be externally motivated, because you have this fire burning inside of you, and I love that about you. that you carry passion in everything that you do because you're a passionate person and you have a great heart and your heart just comes out through your work. I love that. So, what I'm doing in that third example is I'm pulling on a characteristic, a character quality, something about who you are, and I'm naming that and bringing it out in the open. And it's very rare in life that people go to that level with us, that they call out of us the gold and they pull out the best and they say, this is who you are. You are a glorious person. You are a person of value. And here's the gold in you. So when you do naming the person's identity, naming what's in them, you pick a character quality or a way they look like Jesus, and you just put it on display for everybody to see. So, 3 types of affirmation. I can affirm what you've done in the past. It's about what you do. I can believe in your capability for the future, what's possible for you, and I can name who you are in the present. So we're going to take some time now and do some exercises where you get to practice this on each other. So enjoy the ride.